If you come across a breakfast stand that opens at midnight, don't eat there, especially if no one is talking, and don't talk to anyone. Otherwise, something bad might happen. This happened in 2015. I was driving an excavator at my uncle's construction site. The demolition area had already been vacated, but it took a long time for the project to be approved. It's been delayed until now. At that time, even the shed hadn't been built yet. To prevent people from stealing wool and tools, I had to sleep on the excavator at night. Of course, there were several big tents next to it. A few of my coworkers lived in them. But the smell of sweat inside, I couldn't stand it. I remember it was almost July. Because of the heat, I had some beer at night. I went to bed in the early hours of the morning. I was woken up by my bladder. It was really dark that night. I couldn't even see the moon. So I took a flashlight and went to the side of the road to pee. When I came back, I saw a small light at the intersection of the demolition zone. A small light was lit. I was curious, so I took a closer look. It turned out to be a breakfast stall. An old couple was busy making wontons and donuts. There were about 7 or 8 people sitting at the stall. They were sitting at 2 small tables eating their breakfast. It's not a problem if you don't see them. When I saw them eating so well, my stomach was growling. So I found a small stool and sat down. I yelled for some food. It was a normal thing to do. But I suddenly felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange. The stall owner and his wife, plus 7 or 8 other customers. They were all staring at me blankly. I was so confused. But I didn't mind too much. I lit a cigarette and waited for the food. After about 10 minutes, the lady boss gently came to my side. She put down the buns and tofu brain and left. She didn't say a word the whole time. At one point, I thought she was deaf and mute. I was going to ask for a plate of oil. But as soon as I called out, I saw that something was wrong again. The lady boss didn't reply. The crowd turned to look at me again. Maybe because it was too dark. The lights in the stall were not bright. I couldn't see their faces. I suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Did they think I had too much to do? Or is there another reason? But now I'm more or less aware. Not only the owner and his wife, even the stone carvings, doesn't seem to have made a single sound. The surrounding area is quiet. I probably won't get this handful. I don't want to bother too much. It's not like I'm not paying. Why are you so stingy? So I buried my head in my mouth and ate. I don't know if it's because I haven't sobered up from last night. The steamed buns and tofu brain didn't have much flavor. But I was so hungry that I finished half of it. But at that moment, my stomach suddenly cramped up. Just like we usually do after eating something uncooked. Then my eyes went black. I fell to the ground head first. I screamed for help. When I realized that my screams were unnecessary, because those people had already surrounded me. It was also at this time I finally got a good look at them. No, because their faces were covered with a dead gray color. They couldn't even see their pupils. All that was left was a layer of skin clinging to their bones. So many figures were in front of me at once. I could feel my brain going haywire. I couldn't even breathe. These figures were getting closer and closer to my face. It felt like they were eating me for breakfast. They were going to tear me apart and eat me. I wanted to call for help, but I couldn't get a sound out of my throat. And I was dizzy. Soon I fell to the ground and lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I heard many people around me calling my name. I got up and saw a bunch of people again. I was scared again and screamed. After a long time, I realized that they were my fellow workers. I didn't know what to say to their questions. I could only tell them what happened. Before I could finish, I was interrupted by an older worker. "Kid, have you been drinking? No one lives here at all. Where's the breakfast?" I thought to myself, no one lives here. It's so far from the county town. Who would come here to sell breakfast? Thinking about it, I felt sick in my stomach again. I couldn't help it. I threw up with a wall. But I couldn't stop vomiting. I saw that all the things that came out of my mouth. It was full of mud, frogs and worms. A foul odor came out. I couldn't help it. I almost threw up my intestines. Finally, the workers called 120 for me. They took me to the hospital. I stayed in the hospital for more than a week. In addition to joy and sorrow, I had a high fever for no apparent reason. Even though the doctor gave me fluids every day, the fever wouldn't go away. Then my uncle found an old man who knew what he was doing. He asked me about my condition in detail. He asked my uncle to go to the ground where I bought breakfast. He burned some paper for me. I slowly recovered.